be part of the launch, and we're amazingly, expectantly glad to have you here. Each and everyone who has taken out time to be with us, we're really, really grateful. Thank you so much. So, first and foremost, before we go ahead, I would like you to just look to your right, look to your left if you've got someone beside you and say hello, find out the person's name. If you've not chatted with the person before, just look to someone beside you and just say hello, maybe a good afternoon, a good evening, what's your name, where are you from, what do you do? Just maybe you can stand up from your seat, go around to other tables. So I think it would be very nice if you know who's sitting close to you. So it might just be a friend that you don't know, like sitting beside you. So I'm happy you did that. That's good. My name is Uju. That's UJ. And I'll be your host for the event. So before we start in proper, so we're going to have like a health check. But before we go to that, I would like to say a very big thank you to BCH, BH yes, I'm so sorry for that. So, thank you so much for coming, and also to the cancer care diaspora for coming as well. So, they are also on my left hand side as well. And we also have Anne here too as well. Thank you so much for coming. So, we're going to have free health checks here. So, if you're 50 and above, and maybe you've been diagnosed or you know your health check, your status, you can just go to my right hand side and they'll do the check to you. And if you just want to do the normal checks, like maybe knowing what your blood sugar level is, any other thing that has to do with your health checks, you can just go to my left hand side and they'll be very happy to have you with smiling faces. Don't be shy to stand up from your seat to take a check to know what's going on. Thank you so much. And when we're done, I'll be back again. My name is UJ. I'm your host for today. Thank you. sorry, just to add, we've got hibiscus drink. So if you want to try it, so just to my my left, so just right behind. So you can go just try to see what's like. It doesn't have sugar in it, so I think it's a very healthy drink, more than the fizzy drinks we take. Some of us that do take. Thank you. Everyone. I don't know if you've had the checks. For those, like I said before, if you're not up to 50 years of age, you can go that way and have your check done. So I don't know if you've done the check and maybe you've gone through, or if you haven't yet, or maybe you've done the check much before, that's fine. But before we go on, can we just do a bit of maybe like an entertainment event, or just something to shake you up a bit and not be too serious? Thank you very much. So first and foremost, we're all here because it's Life Beyond Diabetes. What is diabetes to you? For me, if someone asks me, just walk up to me and say, oh, what's diabetes? I'll just say, I think it's someone that has so much sugar, or I've had too many Cokes, or maybe has had too many bananas, or maybe has had 4 cubes of sugar in their tea. Or for me, that's what I think it is. But before we go further, I'll just give maybe a personal experience. So I have an uncle who is diabetic. And for me, I just see the things he goes through. Maybe sometimes he's shaking, maybe when he needs to take his insulin, sometimes he can't eat certain foods. There's a lot of restriction to him. There are a lot of things he can't do. He can't stand for long hours. And I know it's quite different for certain people. It's not the same experience everyone has. So before we go further, I don't know if anyone is bold enough to just tell us, what is diabetes? Can we have hands? I could bring the mic to you if you want me to throw more lights. I'm waiting. I'll be bold enough to walk to your front and give you the mic. It's not time to press your phone. Okay, so I'll just do this. Or, okay, Ma, would you like to just give us insight of what diabetes is to you? Thank
My God. Um, Diabetes is more of a digestive disorder, probably in layman's language. But then when we go to medical terms, they call it a metabolic disorder. That means there are so many events that take place leading to diabetes. Like you've got your pancreas involved, and you've got certain hormones which are, and the lot.
Thank you so much. Okay, she said in layman's language. I don't think that was layman's language to me because I don't know the express experience of what she explained, the pancreas and the several other things she said. I really don't know for me. Okay, so we're going to have sticky notes. So on the sticky notes, you just write maybe in one word, in a sentence. Okay. Okay. So on the sticky notes, the question is, what does living beyond diabetes means to you? So we have one of our hosts dropping sticky notes on your table. So you just write maybe in one sentence, in one word. Maybe if you need a pen, you can just put up your hand. She'll get a pen across to you. So the question again is, what does living beyond diabetes means to you? It doesn't have to be a very long write up, maybe just one word restriction. It could be too much sugar. Just as she said, it could be a disorder in your pancreas. It depends on what it means to you. And before I go further, not to say this, we have an exit just right there at your left hand side, and the bathroom is just right behind the corner as well. So, does everyone have a sticky note to write on? If you need a pen, you can put your hands up and she'll get a pen to you. Okay, so while that is going on, I would like to invite our amazing host, our founder, and do we know what her name is? Can give me an expo. Yeah? Who wants to give me an expo? Be bold now. Oh. Ah, hey. I'll go walk into the crowd and give someone the mic. Oh. What's her name? Cynthia. Okay, that's good. Someone said Cynthia. Okay, so I would just like to invite the founder. So her name is Voke Moore. So please give her a round of a wonderful applause. Clap for her. Keep clapping till she comes up. Keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for coming, for honoring the invitation today. We couldn't have made it this far without yourselves, so I really want to say thank you. My name is Avoke Cynthia Momo. So for the person who says Cynthia, it's also my name. Today we're starting not just, it's more than an event, it's a movement. And that's why we've gathered you all here today. For me, diabetes has not just been another word, it's not just been another medical word, it's been something very personal. And I like to say, as young as 10, I looked after my grandmom who had diabetes. She was diagnosed with diabetes when she was 30, and she lived till she was 72. And for me, it's so painful because she looked after me when I was young, and she never got to enjoy any of my money. because she died when I was in 300 level. So it's really personal. And today I'm walking that same path with my uncle, who is like a father to me. He literally raised me as well. When I lived with my grandmom, this uncle of mine was the one who used to take me to school. So he's an uncle by title, but he's like he's a father to me. I've never known any other father. And it's painful to see how diabetes affects him, insulin management, and not just him, but everyone else around him. And that's why we have started this movement, because then you then get to find out that when you're diagnosed, it's not just you, but everyone around you gets involved and gets affected in one way or the other. And today, Life Beyond Diabetes has been born out of this love for my family. Um, the truth is, you're more than your diagnosis, and you want to be able to live well beyond whatever it is you're being diagnosed for. And you find that our people don't talk about this enough. People don't find it comfortable speaking about what they've been diagnosed, and that's what we want to encourage. The truth is also that knowledge is always shared. The way I manage my illness might be different from the way you manage yours, and we're just here to learn and bounce ideas of each other. Um, your diagnosis does not define you, so we're going to be educating people. We're going to be having quarterly events. We're going to start with quarterly events like this. That's why I said it's not just going to be an event, it's a movement. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having quarterly events where we'll have different themes. For today is just awareness. And what is awareness? Talking about it, being comfortable. If you've been diagnosed with anything, whether diabetes or not, feel free to, high blood pressure, feel free to speak about it. Let your community know, because in community there's togetherness. Now, for all of the things you've seen here today, I didn't achieve it by myself. I had a huge community behind me, and I didn't even know that I had so many people I could rely on. And that's what we are here about, thriving beyond your diagnosis, making people know that it's not just you alone. There's a community of people who are rooting for you. Diabetes can be reversed if managed effectively. So that's what Life Beyond Diabetes is all about. And I just want you all to join me in this movement. I can't do it myself. I need the community, whether you're dealing with diabetes or you're caring for somebody who has diabetes, or you're just there to support us. We need you. We need you. And so thank you all for coming, and God bless you.
That was very emotional. It shows that it's thank you. That was quite emotional because it shows that diabetes is not just a word to the founder of OK, Cynthia, right? Okay, so before we go further, so we'll be inviting our first speaker, and he's going to talk about his lived experience. It's going to be a storytelling. He's going to share more light on what diabetes is, maybe personal experience or things that you can relate with in one way or the other. So if you can just join me together and put your hands together as we invite Nzube Chukwu, if I got that pronounced rightly. I'm very sorry. If I murdered the name, please correct me. Thank you so much. Please put your hands together for him as he comes up. Please keep clapping. Keep clapping.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, stand here. Good evening, everybody. It's good to be here, and I just appreciate Miss Mrs. or Mrs. Ovoke for inviting me to speak. My name is Dr. Nzube. I'm I specialize in gastroenterology, but to get to gastroenterology, you have to do internal medicine, which has a lot of diabetes. So I do know quite a lot about diabetes through my years of training. And I'm just here to speak about, diabetes, what it means to be diabetic, and how you can, as a diabetic, thrive with the condition, and how you can also prevent, be that if you're not diabetic yet, you can prevent it from happening. So we're just going to start with first slide. So this is the first slide. I'm sorry to put that picture, a bit gruesome, but this is the reality. So this is a diabetic foot. That's quite advanced, and I've seen multiple of these cases. People come in at this stage, and this is a gangrenous foot basically, they have infections from the foot that spread to the blood, and to save them, you need to cut the foot. So this is the reality a lot of people are facing, and this is why we're having these talks, so that we can know these things early, do the necessary things to prevent these things from getting to this point. So, next slide, please. So what is diabetes? So I had quite a few definitions, and Mommy was saying layman, but she said metabolic disorder, and that's not a layman term. So yes, it is a metabolic disorder. It is a disorder where there is excess glucose in the body. And this is because of the lack of an hormone called insulin. So the pancreas in the body, which Mommy also mentioned, it's an organ which is at the back of the stomach. It does quite a lot of things, but one of the things it does is that it produces this hormone called insulin. And what insulin does is that it helps to drive glucose into the blood cells, so that the blood cells can then use the glucose to produce energy. If insulin is not secreted, if it's not enough in the bloodstream, this activity will be impaired, and you would have excess blood in your bloodstream. And this excess blood in the bloodstream is what then causes all the manifestations that we see. And we'll talk a bit more about that. With insulin, it's like I said, it's produced in the pancreas. And one of the when we get to the next slide, we'll talk about it. So so one of the things there is that it's 2.5 million people in the UK have diabetes, quite a massive number of people, and worldwide it's up. It's I'd say more than 10% of the world population actually has diabetes. So it is a serious condition that is quite widespread. Next slide, please. So there are three types. There are two main types of diabetes, but I'd always include one more called gestational diabetes, which I would also talk on. The first type is called type 1 diabetes. So type 1 diabetes is, it's basically, it occurs in 10% of people with diabetes. It is the more serious type. This type, unfortunately, it happens in childhood. And it happens when the pancreas, which I mentioned before, is no longer secreting insulin at all. So the pancreas is not able to secrete insulin. And this happens very quickly. And, unfortunately, it is not preventable. There is no known cause for this in terms of lifestyle or diet. It just tends to happen. It's called an autoimmune condition, in which the autoimmune means that your own body immune system is attacking your own tissues. So your immune system attacking your tissues. So in this case, the body's immune system was attacking the pancreas and then caused it to be unable to produce insulin, and that's why you have manifestation of type 1 diabetes. Okay? Is anyone following so far? Are you sure? Okay. Well, let me just ask one question. Where did I say the pancreas is? Okay. You're following. And what did I say insulin does? It what? Sorry? Yes. Perfect. And it does that by driving glucose into the blood, into the body cells. Okay, so type 1 diabetes, like I said, unfortunately, it has no known, we know it's caused by this autoimmune disorder, but it has no known preventable factors, okay? Thankfully, it only happens in 10% of cases. So next slide. So then we have type 2 diabetes. This is the most common one. It happens in 90% of cases, and it occurs usually in older people. So it occurs in middle-aged or older adults. But unfortunately, we're beginning to see quite a lot of childhood cases of type 2 diabetes as well. This one is usually due to, it can be due to genetic factors, but mostly it's due to environmental factors. Now, what usually happens, the main primary thing with this one is when someone is overweight, basically, or when someone has a genetic predisposition to it. What happens is that this being overweight, the body cells begin to develop a resistance to insulin. So insulin is in the bloodstream, but the body cells become more resistant to its function. So it's trying to drive the glucose into the body cells, but there's a resistance. So the pancreas is then working over time to secrete more. And as it's secreting more, the more it's secreting, it's not actually then meeting the needs because the body cells is resistant. Over time, the pancreas itself becomes weak and then shrivels and could potentially, even stop producing insulin. That's why sometimes when you get to people with type 2 diabetes, at the end stages, some of them then require insulin to function. Okay? So the main problem here is the body cells being resistant and the number of factors that can cause that. Okay, so we'll talk about the factors in the next slide. So if you go to the next slide, please. So factors that can cause type 2 diabetes. As you can see there, you have family factors. So this one has a strong family predisposition. So if you have someone from your family who's got diabetes, there is a risk factor that there's a possibility you could develop it. That's one of the factors here that we can't control, but most of the other ones we can control. So you have sedentary lifestyle, not exercising, just going to work in your car and, coming back home, sitting in front of the computer all day, or just not, just sitting at home. So this one, you can control that. If you exercise a bit more, that's something you can work towards preventing type 2 diabetes. Other factors there that you can see, We've got um, that's good. Is a bit too small for me. Sorry. So yeah. So you've got age, you've got high blood pressure, you've got gestational diabetes, so high BMI of being overweight. So gestational diabetes, which we'll come to, if you had gestational diabetes in the past, there's a high chance that you would have it in the future. If you had it during your pregnancy, there's a high chance that you can develop it later in life. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, these, like Mommy said, metabolic disorders. High blood pressure is a metabolic disorder. They all work together. If you have one of them, there's a high chance that you could have the other one. And then BMI, high BMI, being overweight. Which I said before, if you being overweight is the main thing that drives the insulin resistance. Okay, so these are the risk factors, and this will tie into how we can manage diabetes and how we can prevent it from happening if you've not had it. So next slide, please. So gestational diabetes. So this is, like I mentioned, this sometimes happens in pregnancy. So this happens in 4% of all women who get pregnant. And the risk factors for that is the same as having type 2 diabetes in pregnancy. So if you're overweight, if you have a family history of diabetes, and you get pregnant, there's an increased chance of having that gestational diabetes. It's usually, for most cases, it would, at the end of the pregnancy, at least about 6 weeks at the end of the pregnancy, 6 weeks after the pregnancy, most people get normal blood glucose afterwards. The diabetes goes. But there is an increased chance, if that happened to you, there's an increased chance of having diabetes in the future. Okay? So, yeah, next slide. Thank you. So these are some of the symptoms of diabetes. Now, like I said, the high blood sugar is what drives a lot of these things. You have high blood sugar in your bloodstream, it will cause. Is there any science student here? Anybody who's got? Okay. Do you know what osmosis is? Diffusion osmosis? So osmosis is when there is a transfer of what's called of fluid through a semi-permeable membrane from an area of high concentration to an area of lower concentration, isn't it? So what the glucose in your bloodstream does is that it creates a very high concentration within your bloodstream. And what that does is it causes the fluid within your cells to be drawn into your bloodstream. And what you then get is that you have a lot of fluid in your bloodstream, but you don't have within your cells. So your cells are suffering, and that's why people get quite thirsty a lot. So you start feeling very thirsty, although you have normal amount of fluid in your bloodstream, but it's not getting to the cells where it should have that effect. So people feel thirsty a lot. The other thing is that people sometimes experience blurring of vision. The high blood sugar, when it flows towards the eyes, there's a part of the eye called the vitreous humor, basically. That fluid, if it has a lot of sugar within it, it will cause blurring of vision. This is different from some of the complications that diabetes can cause. This is one of the primary initial symptoms. I hope I'm not using too much jargons. I hope you understand what I'm saying? Okay. So we've talked about the excessive thirst. This excess sugar as well, like I said, when it's drying up the cells, it can cause weight loss, which some people experience. And then the excessive urine, when you have a lot of fluid in your bloodstream because of the osmosis, the drawing of the things from the cell into within your, so you have a lot of fluid within your bloodstream, and then it goes to the kidneys and causes a lot of excretion of fluid. So you have excess, you're just urinating quite a lot, which is, you're starving, the body is just literally, because of the excess sugar, starving the actual blood cells and starving your normal cells and causing a lot of fluid to come out of your body. So that's where you experience excessive urination. So you can see that everything is being driven by the excess sugar within the bloodstream. And that's why you experience all those symptoms. So next slide. And also this also ties into some of the complications that you will see. Are we following? Okay. So in terms of the complications, the main thing that causes the complication, so symptoms is different from complications. Symptoms, like I said, is initial symptoms that you would have when the disease is manifesting. Complications is when it's not treated, and over a long time, you then begin to have some of these complications that we see. The main thing that drives the complications in diabetes is that the blood sugar, the excess blood sugar that you have within your bloodstream, it tends to damage your blood vessels, and because you have a lot of sugar in the bloodstream, when that blood vessel is damaged, it doesn't heal properly, and it heals by scarring. So keep that in mind. You have a lot of blood sugar within your bloodstream. There's a damage to the blood vessels, and then it's not healing properly, and it heals by scarring. What that causes is that it causes your blood vessels over time to become narrow. So you get narrowing of blood vessels. And it's usually the very tiny, small blood vessels that suffer the most. And this is what causes a lot of the symptoms that you get. So stroke, what happens in stroke? Stroke is when there's a defective blood supply to an area in the brain, and then you have the damage to the brain. That's what happens. Because the brain blood vessels are very, very tiny, over time, you're having this damage to the blood vessels, this narrowing, and then it manifests as a stroke. Same with the eye problem. This is called diabetic retinopathy. Basically, who knows what the retina is? Okay, science in there. Retina basically is part of the makeup of the eye. That part of the eye, the very tiny blood vessels that supply it as well, over time with diabetes, that gets affected. Same thing with what's called peripheral vascular disease. That's basically when the vessels that supplies your foot, the peripheries of your body, your foot, your hands, they experience this damage that's caused by what I've already explained. And then it's not supplying the tissues on your peripheries properly. It's not supplying them as it should. And that's why you get the damage that's from the picture I showed you in the first place, the diabetic foot injury. And that's what causes the diabetic foot, and that leads to then needing an amputation and things like that. So these are some of the complications. Just to remember, the main issue is the damage that the blood sugar causes on the blood vessels in our bloodstream. That's what causes all of these complications that you see. Even heart attack is due to blood vessels not being supplied to the proper blood supply to the heart. So yeah, so these are things that can be prevented. These complications, if we do the right things in terms of if we have diabetes, engaging in proper treatment, proper lifestyle changes, and we can work towards preventing that. And if you don't have diabetes at all, starting now to make those changes will keep you healthy. Okay, next slide. So treatment. like I said, a lot of things I've already said, ties into what treatment is. The main treatment for diabetes is lifestyle changes. The main treatment is lifestyle modification, diet control. We'll talk about that in coming slides. But those are the main things. A lot of people with type 2 diabetes actually don't need medications. They tend to, if you were able to engage in the activities early, a lot of people don't need medications. Some people will end up needing medications for type 2 diabetes, and there's some oral medications there are lots of oral medications that are available. They work in different ways. There are a lot of medications out there. Even popular ones now that people are misusing, like what's it called? Weight loss medication a lot of people are taking, Zempic or. So that is primarily a diabetic medication, and it has very good functions and it works for type 2 diabetes. The next thing about treatment is insulin. So for type 1 diabetes, who remembers what I said about type 1 diabetes? It's not what? It's not preventable. And I said as well that it happens when the pancreas is damaged. So it's not even producing insulin at all. So people with type 1 diabetes cannot survive without insulin. They can't. So they need insulin, and they need insulin regularly that meets up with the way the body produces insulin. On the other hand, people with type 2 diabetes, because they have insulin, it's just the resistance problem. Those oral medications can help, solve either the resistance or help produce more insulin, things like that. But, like I said before, even when taking the medications, doing those necessary lifestyle changes is so key, because even if, it just solves all the problem. You wouldn't. Many people, whilst taking medications, some of them eventually wouldn't need medication. Even if you do need medications, you would not need to then, need more superior medications. Like for type 2 diabetes, there comes a time, like I said, over time, the pancreas itself becomes weak and shriveled because it's working so much to fight that resistance. And then when it gets so weak and shriveled, it then stops secreting. And then when it stops secreting, you become like type 1. And then you need insulin. So if you're able to support the medications by doing regular exercises, putting those lifestyle changes, then you wouldn't get to the point where you need to be having injections all the time. Okay? So yeah, taking those lifestyle changes are the key things. So next slide, please. So I'll just talk about pre-diabetes as well. So this is a well-known condition now. Previously it was called impaired glucose tolerance, but now it's now termed pre-diabetes. Basically means that people that have high blood sugars, but not at the level to term them diabetic. Okay? Just for simplicity, a normal blood sugar, there are different units, but I'll just say one unit. Say for millimoles, a normal blood sugar should be below 7. Okay? Should be below 7, normally, randomly. If you take your blood sugar, I just take your blood sugar now, as you eat, whether you've eaten or not. If it should be below 7, ideally, if you don't have any problems. But for me to term you diabetic, your reading has to be above 11 over 2 readings, okay? It has to be above 11. But for this pre-diabetes, it's for people that are between 7 and 11. So you have high blood sugar, but it's not enough to then term you a diabetic, okay? In this pre-diabetes, it's like a wake-up call. It's where you need to, if it's where you need to put in the work to prevent it from going into to becoming diabetes. Because when you have pre-diabetes, there's a very, very high chance that it will turn to diabetes. So it's like a wake-up call. If you check your blood sugar, it's higher than normal, but it's not enough to term diabetes. It's a time where you need to make those necessary changes before it gets to that point. Okay? Are we following? All right. Next slide. So we're just going to talk about practical steps on how to talk about practical steps, basically, about dieting and healthy lifestyles. All right? This is both for people who are diabetic, helping to manage the diabetes, so that you can have better outcomes. And this is also for people who are not diabetic, who are, say, maybe pre-diabetes, or not even pre-diabetes, for all of us, to engage in this healthy tips, to prevent horrible outcomes in terms of this disease, okay? So what can we see there? We can see part of the healthy meals, it's not taken. I'd say, if you read through the slide, the main things I'm going to point out is this: minimizing carbohydrates, okay? It's not about just sugar. A lot of people are thinking about this, or maybe it's just sugar on my meals. No, it's not just sugar. Cut down, and this thing is about moderation. I wouldn't say stop taking sugar. If you are diabetic, yes, probably. Maybe stop. If you can't stop taking sugar, then stop, okay? But if you can't, just minimize. It's about moderation. Carbohydrates, it's about moderation. If you've taken a plate of food, I like pounded yam a lot. I can eat a very reasonable size of pounded yam, but I don't eat much. Okay, so that could be my. I eat twice a day. That's usually my night meal, and I eat that and I'm done. I think, personally, for me, in all these eating things, I think it's between meals that's the problem. A lot of people, those extra things you take between meals, you eat one biscuit there, you eat one cake there, it's, that is where the calories build up, okay? So I'd say moderation. Moderation, eat a good balanced diet, lots of vegetables, less of red meat, less of processed food. There's a lot of processed food these days, quick and easy to make. Try and cut down on them as much as possible. Eat good vegetables. Another point out there as well, fruits contain sugar, but they are good kind of sugar. Okay? It's good, and it's not, it has those, it doesn't have the negative effects that those processed ones would cause. So take more fruits, but also if you have diabetes, even though fruits is good for you, you still, divide them in portions. Don't take too much fruits because it can raise your blood sugar as well. Okay, so are you guys following so far? All right, let's move on to the next slide then. So that's all about food. Next things are, exercising. Make effort to exercise. I feel sometimes when I'm saying all these things, I feel like an hypocrite. but I can sort of excuse myself because as a medical doctor, you literally you're on your feet at work constantly. So at the end of the day, most of the time I spend, these 10,000 steps on one day on call, I probably do 20,000 steps and things. But still, it doesn't excuse me. I am going to try and start exercising as much as I can. You let's engage in exercise. Let us take the extra step. Let us, you know, if we, you know, if there's a stairs, if there's a elevator, take the stairs. You know, just make some extra effort. You know, take some walks. Some people buy dogs in order to do this, but I can't do that. If you get dogs, that's fine. That's good. But I think just making the effort to do more than you would, it goes a long way. Okay. Something else there. Regular checkups. Okay, that is very, very key. You know, we have that here. So seize this opportunity. Get your blood sugars checked. Get your blood pressure checked. You'd be surprised how many young people have high blood pressure. I was shocked when I was doing my youth service in Nigeria. This was in 2017, 2018. There was, in camp, people came for blood pressure checks, and I was so shocked. Young people, and their blood pressure was off the roof. I was like, so many people. It was quite surprising. So I think and the problem with these things is that you don't show any symptoms. For the blood pressure one, for diabetes one, you don't show any symptoms for a long time. So having these checks regularly helps to catching them early, okay? And then walking in faith. I am a Christian, and I mean, this is a church, but I know this is an event that is not primarily termed Christian. But I think having a faith, knowing God, knowing the person of Christ, goes a long way in terms of how you view health and how you walk in health. And I'd say, that's it goes a long way in how you view health. And medicine and faith they're not opposites. They're synergistic. Okay, they are aligned. God gave all of this knowledge. Nobody has knowledge by themselves. No medical doctor, no matter how wise, how smart, all this research, all these things is God-given wisdom. Wisdom comes from God. Even if they're unbelievers and they are discovering, it is still from God. So tap into it, use the wisdom, and then, but knowing that the source is not the medication I'm taking. The source is not what gives me health is not necessarily the medication I'm taking. What gives me health is from God, okay? So knowing that is key as well. Next slide. So yeah, this is Thriving with Diabetes. There are lots of people that live very healthy, very normal lives with diabetes. You don't have to, it's a serious condition, but if it's well managed, you literally live a normal lifestyle. And nobody will even know, unless you tell them. So it is possible to do that. Engage with regular exercise. Do, this lifestyle changes. Take them on board. Engage with regular checkup. Engage with the support systems that you have available. And, you can literally thrive. The diabetes does not define, even if you have it, you're not defined by diabetes. You're defined by so much more. For me as a Christian, I'm defined by the person of Christ. I'm defined as a child of God. So I'm so much more than anything else around this world. So seeing life from a different perspective and from a true perspective, gives you, helps you to tackle these things, and gives you a robust life. Yeah. So next slide. I just put down some support systems. Now, family support is key, and I'm going to just talk about family support. Family support is the most important support system that you can have. So if you have any family members that might have this condition, it's important to, not stigmatized. I don't know if people stigmatize about diabetes, but if anyone, it's not things. There's nothing to stigmatize about. And then supporting people with this condition. If you have someone in the house that has this thing, everybody change their meal. Why? Don't isolate the person. Don't make the person be the one to say, you have to eat a certain kind of meal. Everybody change their meal to support that person. Working together in that way, it goes a long way to ensuring, the better outcomes for that person and even for you. If you change your meal and you eat more healthy, then it's a win-win for you as well. Okay. Community. We have these platforms that have been created thanks to Mrs. Obuke. This is a community that you can engage with. We have churches, which the church family cannot be overemphasized. Engage, let people know what you're dealing with, and you would find this support systems are actually quite available. Okay. And then cultural understanding, I wrote that because, you don't have to change your diet, your cultural diet, because you're in time to have diabetes. And then you take away your pounded yam, you take away your eba, and start eating macaroni and cheese. No. You can eat your normal diet, just portions, moderation. That's it. So, holistic living, health is holistic. It's not, living healthy is holistic. It's spiritual, it is mental, it is physical, it is people you have around you, the support systems, the community, and, like I said, knowing God, it's so key in terms of how you visualize these things, how you see it, that perspective. It changes things, yeah? So that is the end of my talk. So all the best. I don't know if questions, is it now or later on? Okay, later on. Okay, all right, enjoy the rest of the session. Take care.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doctor, very much for the insights and giving more light to what diabetes is. For me, I said it much earlier at the beginning of the event, I know diabetes to just be taking too much of Coke. I didn't know that eating so much of pounded yam can give you diabetes as well. I know some of you didn't know that. So reduce the pounded yam intake, the gari, the spaghettis, and the fizzy drinks, the Coke, and the Fanta. As much as doctor said, it doesn't mean you should stop taking them, but in moderate form. So at this time, I'll just give another announcement again. So we still have BHA to my right. So if you're below 50, you can go there for a free checkup to check your blood pressure, your sugar level, anything that has to do with your health. So it's free checkup, so you can just go there. And we also have CAN as well to my left there, and we have cancer care as well. So if you're below 50, then you can also go there to do all the checkups you need to do. So if you want to check your sugar level, your height, your blood pressure, to know if your sugar level is very high, just as doctor said, if you have an awareness now to know if you're eating too much pounded yam, then it will let you know what more to do. So if you want to prevent it, it's easier to prevent it. So at this time, you're going to be munching. It's time to also take a time to say hello to the person sitting beside you with a kind smile on your face, knowing their names, where they're from, what do they do. So it's not just sitting on your table. Thank you. And I'll be back. Thank you. healthy drink. We've got hibiscus just right here to my very right now as I'm standing. So you can go there, have a taste of the hibiscus drink. It's very nice. I've tasted it. So someone asked me, what's the ingredients in it? I guess hibiscus, number one, and dates. Okay, so hibiscus and dates, and that's very healthy. That's not sugar. So you can just go have a cup, taste it to see what it's like. Thank you. Good. Thank you. I'm sure we've had nice time chatting with the persons beside you. So right now, can I have your attention? Hello? 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 Can I have your attention now? I know our mouth is moving, we're eating, just having a little bite of the small chops on your table. So right now, I would like to invite the second speaker to just talk again about life beyond diabetes. So I would like you to give just a clap while I invite her. So I'm gonna invite June Green. So she's gonna give us a talk on life beyond diabetes, maybe a different aspect from what doctor has said. So please keep clapping till she comes up, please. Keep clapping. So just, yeah, just say thank you.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. I'm so happy to be here. Really am. When I was asked, would you come and talk about diabetes? I said, sure. And why? I'm a little bit obsessed with diabetes because it's always been at my table. It's been like this unwelcome guest at our dinner table from I was a little girl. So we were first generation. I was born here. And so sitting around the table, there would be my her 2 sisters had diabetes. My dad had diabetes. He got it later on in life. And it's just always been there. And I remember them all just saying it like it was inevitable. Oh, I've got it too. And the brother as well. One of the brothers got diabetes as well. But what I noticed as I was growing up is how different it affected them, how differently. So 2 of my aunties smoked because in those days, it was fashionable to smoke in the 50s and 60s. They used to advertise it all the time like it was something really good. And we all know it isn't. And the older sister, my gran, she never smoked. And what happened was the 2 younger sisters and the brother, he went blind. And then the other sister, they died in the 60s. But my gran lived to be 100. In fact, she said to us, she wasn't very well. She said, I'll promise I'll stay to 100, but I can't promise you much longer. So she lived 10 days after she was 100. She got a telegram. And she lived with diabetes. So what always stuck in my mind was that she didn't smoke. And it's only later on they realized how bad smoking is. So can we start on side? So I want to talk to you today about diabetes, not only from a personal point of view, but it's so important because if it's something that can be prevented. I lost my last husband through diabetes. He was 44, strong man. And when I met him, we married later on in life. When I met him, he was drinking gallons of water. Before we got to work, he'd have 2 liters of water and then another 2 liters. And I said to him, "You're diabetic." And he'd go, "Shush." So this business of not wanting to know because he was frightened. And he got really poorly, got a bad infection, and he only lasted a few days. And when he went into the hospital, I said to them, "I know he's coming with his breathing, but just check his blood sugar." And it was unrecordable. So, and the stressful thing, I wanted him to go to the doctors. He cancelled the appointment, yet he took a day off to go on to play his computer game, so go figure. There's only so much you can do. But what it's always reminded me is you can't really give up. It's something that you can live with. And many of us in our community, we get really frightened of it. So this is briefly what I'm going to talk about. So there's going to be some overlap, but hopefully not too much. But this is going to be from my perspective because I am a nurse. I'm a registered nurse and midwife. I worked for over 40 years in the NHS, and now I work for Khan, and it's the same thing. But I've learned more about my community and our health in the last few years working with Khan than all the time I was with the NHS. That says a lot to me because it wasn't considered anything particular. So next slide, please. Okay, so when we talk about diabetes, it hits our culture more than anybody else. As a black person, as black people, we're 3 times more likely to have diabetes than the average white person. We get it 10 years earlier. So when they're doing screening at 50, some of us might have already had it at 20, at 30 as well. 2 times more likely to have high blood pressure, 5 times more likely to develop kidney failure, and we're 3 times more likely to be overweight. That's it there for a minute. Next slide. And of course, the weight thing in our community, it's a very difficult one because a lot of us don't really believe in overweight. So the thing is, it's almost normalized, and people go, "Oh, have you got it?" Oh, and you hear them sitting around the table going, "I've got a bit of sugar." And sometimes it's just normalized, like it's a normal thing, like we expect to get it. And it's often feared, so people ignore it. I've been out, we go out in the community and we take blood sugar, and I've had people going, "I don't want to know," which just concerns me, but they think if they don't know, they don't have to do anything about it. Next slide, please. So what can we do about it? What are our options? We can carry on living your life as usual. It's nobody's business. Or you can fight. You can educate yourself, which is why we're here today. And when I say it's a public health issue, it's because it doesn't just affect one person in the family, it affects the whole family. So if you, as the caregiver, if you have diabetes, then you change your lifestyle, change your diet, as the doctor was saying before, and you bring your children up to understand that. Drink sugar-free drinks. I'm not going to point at anybody, but the lady came to me before, I just drank full sugar Coke. It's poison. And the blood sugar was high. It's just, there's 10 teaspoons of sugar in each can of Coke, for example. So this is about, and this is what today is about. This is what I think it's a brilliant thing to do, is to educate ourselves, because it is a public health issue. We're dying from it more than any other community. Next slide, please. Why does it matter? As the doctor said before, I'm sorry if there's a bit of overlap, but it's just, we'll get into it. So it is a long-term condition, and it affects how the body uses glucose or sugar, because it's its main source of energy. Next slide, please. Carbohydrates. Now, people say sugar, but carbohydrates are foods, and it's everything we eat, carbohydrates. I'm really sorry, but that box of food you've given us is just bare carbs. I'm really sorry. And it's nice. It's a really nice food, but it's all carbohydrates. It's not, carbohydrates isn't just sugar. People think it's just the sugary foods, but it's not. It's our bread, Sorry to say, it's our rice, pasta, potatoes, fruit, milk, everything has got sugar in, and milk. Okay? Next slide. So when you eat these foods, as the doctor said before, you eat these foods, the body breaks it down, and then it goes into it turns into sugar, so the body can use it for energy normally. However, if you look at those two pictures, you can see the person who just ate a banana does turn into sugar, but that's represented by a small amount of sugar than the food that is eaten below. So it's just something to think about. Okay, next slide, please. So glucose or sugar is the body's main source of energy. It's like fuel for our cells, so we need that. And it gives us energy. So we need carbohydrates. So you can't just say we're not going to eat them, because we do need carbohydrates of different sorts. Okay, next slide, please. And for people without diabetes, as we said before, insulin helps move glucose from the blood to the cells. But for people with diabetes, insulin, it may be missing, not working properly, or the body doesn't really respond very well to it, as the doctor said to you before as well. Next slide. Same thing, which means that glucose builds up in your blood, and that's why blood sugar levels rise after eating too many carbs or drinking full sugar Coke. Next slide, please. This is just a diagram showing what happens when the glucose or the sugar, normally it breaks down and it goes into energy, it goes into the cells, and we use it as energy. But when it's not working very well, then it doesn't, the insulin's missing, and so it goes into the cells instead of, and it's not used as energy, and we have low energy and we're tired. Next slide, please. Risk factors we spoke about before. Unfortunately, it's a lot of us are genetically, it's our genetics, our ethnicity, and these are some of the factors that affect us. Family history, as I said before, dietary pattern, fried foods, different refined carbs like white bread, rice, dumplings, sugary drinks, processed meats, and high salt foods. I just want to be very specific so that when I'm talking about it, I'm not just going to say healthy or not healthy. These are what I'm talking about. And what makes it worse as well, and also low intake of vegetables, whole grains, and fiber. They can worsen the risk. So you can be better it's better if you eat whole grain and more fiber. Other health conditions, risk factors, so things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and gestational diabetes, as mentioned before. I remember doing research myself when I was a nurse about ladies who had gestational diabetes, more likely to get diabetes a few years after they've had the babies, and sometimes the children are born with diabetes as well. So this eating for two thing isn't very healthy. Social and economic factors. Unfortunately, there's quite a few things. So living in areas where there's limited access to healthy foods. And if you look at some of the poorer areas, there's takeaways on every corner, every other shop. And it's like, well, if you haven't got much money in these areas, why are there all these takeaways, these fast food? And people work hard to come home, too tired to cook the food. And so there's nowhere to go and exercise, and they face a lot of stress linked to the inequalities and discrimination. And one of the things that happens is, well, we don't always think about discrimination as being stressful, but it is. And it affects us. It affects our body, and it affects how we react to life. And those are some of the things. So when somebody says something to you directly or indirectly, it raises your cortisol. So you've got these fight and flights. So it raises your cortisol. Somebody says something rude, you know that you're just being discriminated. You can't always respond to them. It could be somebody at work. It could be anybody in the street passing the comments, doing things, and it will affect your body. And if you don't sleep enough, which is the next thing, my biggest thing, please sleep. I go to churches in the morning to do blood pressure, and they go, I've just done the night shift. Go to sleep. We need to sleep. When we sleep, I would say out of everything, that is one of our worst things. We don't sleep enough. And when you sleep, your body heals. So if you're not sleeping, you're not helping your body to heal. And it increases your risk of diabetes and stress as well. And of course, working low-paid jobs, long hours, of course, excess weight. But we'll talk about that later. So when we say carbohydrates, I just want to be more specific and give more of an example because this is how I think about things. I like to break things down so that everybody gets more of an understanding of it. So when you say carbohydrates, there are different types of the starches, like the breads, something, things like that. Then there's the bread flour, and then there's a fiber, is a type of carbohydrate, and of course sugars. Okay, next slide, please. So this is what we call an eat well guide. And, so this is a typical, what they would say, a healthy plate to eat for a plate of food. So the biggest part of your plate, they look at should be fruit and vegetables. So that one is quite good because it's actually our food. So when you got your plate, the biggest part, what you should have on your plate is going to be fruit, vegetables. When we can still, you can have your potatoes, bread, rice, portion. It's just a portion. And as Dr. said before, it's not about cutting out your food. It's just about the food that we like and that are better for us. It's just portion control. Maybe using a smaller plate. And then it doesn't look as if you've got this big plate and a little bit of food in the middle. Because when we look at our plate, we've already half eaten. We've already decided that's not going to be enough. But if you've got a smaller plate, and of course, when we get visitors, we give them a large portion as well because that's what we do. So you've got your protein, your dairy, and things like there's small wins like going from full fat milk to semi-skimmed, all those kind of things. And it doesn't, you get used to it after a while. Look, I'm watching your face. You get used to it after a while. You just have to persist because that's a small win. And that can make such a difference. And eventually skimmed, but I'm not going that far. So those are the kind of things, that's how a healthy plate should look. Okay? So the next few plates are just, the next slide, please, the same thing. So this is what they call the food pyramid, which is just another version of it. So they would say the most things we should be in is at the bottom. So the majority of our food should be our protein, and then our vegetables, the complex carbohydrates, fruits and nuts. Okay? Next slide. I think it's another food. So these foods actually lower your blood sugar. They're known to do that. So non-starchy vegetables, because even amongst the vegetables and the fruit, some are worse offenders than others. So the non-starchy vegetables, your green stuff, and spices, ginger, all the stuff that we like. I mean, we're quite blessed as a race because we like these things. They're our stuff, all those spices. Put it in your food. Beans, peas, lentils, whole grains. Try and stay away from the white bread. Try and get used to the whole grains if you can. And fruits that, like berries, strawberries, and things like that, they're better for you than, I'm not saying don't eat bananas. I would never say that. Just less of them because they do have quite high sugar, but they are still healthier for you than some of the processed food that we eat. And I think that's me. Next slide, please. And that's the same thing. Preventing, the same thing that the doctor said. It's just going over it again. What we can do, be more active, lose excess weight. When I say excess weight, I don't expect you to go down to nothing because that's just not going to happen. But even losing 10% of your body weight can cause such a difference to your health. That is amazing. And 10% is not really that much if you think about it. And you're not going to look too skinny. You're not going to look ill. You're just going to feel, it's for you. You're going to feel better. Stress, control stress. We don't do this. We just take it and ride and carry it with us like a backpack. The stress is there like we're supposed to. Sometimes you can, and there's many ways we pray, but the stress thing is with us all the time. Alcohol, reduce, it says reduce, but if you don't need it in your life, then don't have it. See your doctor. Every diabetic should have a checkup once a year. You go and get your checkup, and the GPs are paid for it. They don't always call you for it, but you should go and get your check once a year, and they check everything. And look at your medication. Monitor your blood sugar levels. I'm doing that over there. And not many people do that. Just a finger prick and test your blood sugar every now and again. Sometimes, if you can find that if you eat certain things, you'll notice that your blood sugar goes higher. If you keep it on a normal level, it's better for you. We were talking before about what happens if your blood sugar is going up and down because you're eating things you shouldn't. It goes everywhere in your body. It affects your nerves. So even though you have a heart attack, some people don't know. They call it the silent assassin. There was an advert out a few years ago because it does. It can affect our kidneys. I'd go on the kidney unit, and the majority of the patients are black. It's just so sad. And the thing is, we're quite a strong race. And so this, what's happening, why is this happening to us? But we can control it. Balanced diet, and that's what they say. So it's balance. Some people say, cut out carbs. But you do need some carbs. Just change how much you eat and what the type of carbs you eat. Portion sizes, that I would say that's our biggest killer, the portion control, because our eyes aren't very good when it comes to portion. Because you just look at this and you just think. But the more you do it, the more you get used to it. And then you teach your children as well. One person told me that her husband gets out, he has a big plate. And if she's trying to help him lose weight, so she gets out on normal size plates, and he gets upset and goes and gets his big plate out the cupboard. So, you're laughing, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Drink water. When I talk about drinking water, we're talking about 8 glasses a day, every day, because hydration is such a key. It helps your body keep moving. We need water. And your kidneys, it affects your kidneys if you don't drink enough water. They talk about the diet, different kind of bread, eat more protein. And some people say a plant-based diet, but that's a matter of choice. Next slide, please. Right, so pre-diabetes. That's another word that's thrown around. So pre-diabetes, go to your GP and they say your blood sugar's high. And I was told it's not a case of if you're going to get diabetes, it's when. I now know that's a lie. It's your choice. And I remember at the time thinking, I was quite young then, I remember at the time thinking, well, I'm just going to have what I want anyway. And of course, inevitably, all of a sudden, and how I found out was that my doctor suddenly prescribed me medication for that. And I thought, okay. He didn't even talk to me. I just got this medication on my next prescription. I thought, okay, I'm diabetic then. And that was it. So, I'm a nurse, so I learned a lot about diabetes, and I learn every day about diabetes. I was telling you about my aunties, and so I was a bit frightened because I thought, because the two that smoked ended up losing limbs, and you think, that was my idea of diabetes, but yet you still think you're going to be okay. And it is, when I look back now, if they sat down and said to me, you know what, don't just say you're going to be diabetic. What does that mean? And what can I do about it? How can I help myself? Because it's so important that we do that instead of it managing us and our lives, we need to manage it. Like we manage everything else in our life, like we manage our children, like we manage everything else, our time, our lives. We just say, oh no, it's just taken away too many of us. And I watch young people getting this, and then the other week we were doing blood screening, and this mum said, come here, she said, test my daughter. The daughter's about 13. And she said, I keep telling her not to eat sweets. This young girl's blood sugar was 11. So normal is between 4 and 7. And it was 11. Right? So I was a bit, and she's saying, I told you to stop eating sweets. It's not about that. It means the whole family should change the diet, change what you eat. And I know you can, and there's only so much you can do to stop children eating sweets. But even if you get into the habit from the little, every now and again, it's a treat. But it's not just sweets, is it? There's so many things, and in so many ways. But I keep saying this, we are blessed because we have so many vegetables, so many fruit that are ours, that comfort, that we can eat, and we enjoy too. And so we are blessed in that we're a step ahead of the others. So for when they tell you pre-diabetic, you choose. Carry on and be diabetic. You can be pre-diabetic for up to 10 years. The doctor, my son's 41. He went to the GP, and they just said to him, you're pre-diabetic. He came home frightened. Boys are frightened. He was dead frightened. Mom. And rang his sisters. I've got pre-diabetes. And so his twin sister said, you never eat sweets again. And he was so frightened. I'm like, oh, come on. It's not about that, because that was it. And he goes, well, how can I not eat sweets, not eat sweet things? And that's the worst thing. We get frightened and we think that's all it's about. And it's not about that. It's about creating this balance in our lives, eating, just changing slightly. We've got the hang of it now. He's out there taking exercise, running up and down places, and the weight's coming off. And it's about changing what you eat, fruits and vegetables. When you finish eating your meal, instead of going for your apple crumble and custard, have the apple. But every now and again, if you want your piece of cake, have it. Don't deprive yourself. Just have it every now and again. And it is about balance. And it's reducing that intake of sugars and foods. When I say high glycemic foods, it means you eat them and they go through your body. When my husband, when he died, and we went to the hospital, and they said, because he used to work at the hospital as well, and they said, here's the stuff from his locker. And in his locker, he had bags of sweets. What was his favorite? Those chocolate-covered peanuts and chocolate-covered raisins, and that was in his locker. And bag of sugar, so he would have sugar in his tea and things like that. But what it made me feel was how he must have been struggling, because it would be as I said before, you're drinking all this water because you're thirsty, and then your blood sugar drops because you drank all this water, and then you eat all these sweets, because immediately when it happens, you crave carbs. You want something sweet. You don't. So people say, I'm not going to eat all day. You do that, then you're starving, and your body just says, eat carbs, eat something quick. And that's the worst thing. So you eat something quick, your blood sugar drops, because your body can manage it a little bit. Your blood sugar drops, and you're hungry again, so you start eating these sweets. It's a vicious cycle. Okay. So it is about just changing, just little tweaks, little things, not having them in your house. Just get things that you can eat in the house. Next slide, please. So there is a medication. So type 2 diabetes, it can be treated with medications, usually tablets at first. If it gets worse, if it can't be managed, then eventually they can put you on insulin. It always upsets me when I speak to people and I go, how's it going? Well, they put me on one tablet, then they put me on another one, and eventually they put them on insulin because it's just not being managed. That's partly due to how we are and how we cope with it and how we manage it. And, what can you do? What can we do? And that's what this is about today, just teaching us what can we do. And it's about effective management. I said before, regular blood sugar measurement, just check what it is and see what causes it to spike. Eat regularly, little and often. That's fine. Some people, they go to work all day and they don't eat. Regular checkups. Ask them about your medication. Keep checking up. Sometimes you can come off the medication. If you're managing it enough, you can come off the medication. And yearly eye test, that's a retinopathy, check the back of your eye. Make sure get your feet looked at as well. And if you get any infections, treat them straight away. Do not let them stay in your bloodstream. Next slide. You can ask questions after them. Sorry if I'm going fast, but I'm trying to fit everything in. Reversing diabetes, this is the biggest thing. And it can be done. But why I put this bit afterwards is putting it in remission is because you can reverse it and you can end up off medication, which is what it is. However, if you start eating, if you go back to that lifestyle, it will come back. It's just sitting there waiting for you to go back. So if you decide you want to reverse it, and I know I have one of my brothers, there's 8 of us, and myself and one of my brothers were diagnosed with diabetes. And he's like, I'm not having this, and high blood pressure, because he's younger than me. So he went on this strict weight loss diet, and he ate all the right things, right vegetables. Now, this was a boy who used to cry if you put any vegetables on his plate when he was growing up. So when I saw my brother eating carrots, in fact, all of us around the table, we all just went, and he said, what's wrong? But he decided, and mushrooms as well, he decided that it was more important for him to reverse it. And so he cycled everywhere. He still does now, and he's kept it under control. When he went to his GP, he says, no, you can't come off your medication. But he worked with the GP. And so he kept going back, and every time he was monitored, and they went, actually, your blood sugar's staying within the normal levels. And he managed to come off them. And it was a combination. It was a strict diet, and it was you have to be determined. You have to be consistent and committed to doing this. And he also healthy eating, and he ate loads and loads of vegetables and fruit. And he chose foods with, when we talk about the different kinds of carbohydrate, the ones with high fiber are better for you because they stay in your system longer. And reduce the portion size of the starchy food, your rice. We can't get away from it. We just have to have less. So there's also limit foods and our oily stews. Right, so I was speaking to a lady yesterday, and she was telling me, we were discussing this, and she was telling me about she's pre-diabetic, her husband's diabetic. So how she's changed her lifestyle. One of the things she does is, she said, I'm not sure what she said, fufu or something. So what she does is she takes the green plantain and she cooks it, she boils it. She doesn't cook it with any oil, and then she mashes it. So she uses that instead of rice, instead of other things when she's using it and doing her meal. And that's really working for her. And of course, the other side of it, you reduce your portion size, limit those food and oily stews. And sometimes you find that you don't actually miss the oil. When I was growing up, I thought we had, every time with my parents were cooking rice, butter. So I didn't know that rice could eat without butter. And so I think I went to a diet club, and they went, you don't put any butter in the rice. And I was like, seriously? And now I wouldn't dream of doing it. So it is about educating ourselves and not beating ourselves up and not being ashamed as well. You know, and the physical activity, you can't get away from that. Aim for 150 minutes a week. Anything, brisk walking, cycling, dancing, anything you can do. And then steam your food. Air fryer, they're amazing things. I've got an air fryer. And you can cook most of our foods without adding oil, or you add a minimum oil, and then it's cooked the same. It's really nice. When you cook your plantain, put it in the oven, steam it, roast it. Don't use the oil. There's so many things that you can do. And you can still eat what you want, smaller portions, and the way we prepare our foods as well. So, as well as that, there's strength training. So when you're doing the exercise, it's not just walking, and it's just the things like, as the doctor said before, getting off a stop earlier at the bus and walking. Give yourself enough time to do that, because our watches really don't work on normal time. So if you've got time, do that. Walk up the stairs, and walking instead of driving short distances. Even household chores, when you're doing your exercises, when you're doing your hoovering, whatever you're doing, move more with it, do what you can. Gardening, dancing, whatever you can do to get your pulse up works. Okay. I think I'm nearly finished now. Other lifestyle factors. Sleep. And we don't, and you see, and then half of you know what I'm talking about. I spoke to a woman, she said, the one I was talking to yesterday, and she went, oh, I don't go to bed till 1 o'clock. Why not? And I'm up at 7 every day. But that's not enough sleep. It's not for you. And because of the stress, manage stress. The poor sleep increases your insulin resistance. Manage our stress. So you do what you need to do to manage your stress. There's no point worrying about things before you go to sleep. My daughter told me, but I've forgotten how many hundreds of times in the Bible tells you not to worry, not to take this stress with you when you go to sleep. And that stress hormone raises your blood sugar. So you use mindfulness, prayer, relaxation, or counseling. Talk to somebody who will help you just get it off your chest. Sometimes when you think about it, talk about it, it's two different things. When you talk about it, you think, actually, there's nothing I can do about this, or sometimes there is. Limit alcohol and high-calorie drinks like full sugar Coke. Next one. There are 10 teaspoons of sugar in 1 can of full sugar Coke. And so I don't know why they sell it, but they still do. But, and even when people use the drinks, they use sugary mixes. Just use the sugar-free ones if you can. And you will get used to it. Even like having, I used to have 5 teaspoons of sugar in my tea. Yes, I was that person. But I still I use sweeteners now because I know it was too much and it wasn't doing me any good. Okay, I think I'm nearly finished now. So type 2 diabetes can be reversed into remission, but you have to lose some of the weight. Sorry. You have to lose some of the weight. Exercise, regular exercise. And the earlier it's addressed, the better its chances. So find out as soon as you can. Get checked every year. Just say, just let me check my blood sugar. Get them to check it at your GPs. And even if you don't get complete remission, just any of those steps, like losing weight, they can reduce the complications like heart disease, kidney problems, and eyesight issues, because none of them are pleasant. But we don't. That's the message today. It's in our hands to do this. We've got that power. And we are the strongest. I'm not going to say we are the strongest race on this planet. And anything, we survived. Look what we've survived as a race. So we need to address this. Instead of ending up in hospital when poorly and feeble and just feeling so rough that it's just not worth getting out your bed. Get up, do things, make yourself do things. And look after yourself and your family. Take the kids out. Go and kick the ball with them. And that helps with your family as well. Instead of coming in, you're so tired, you don't want to move. It's up to us. There's nothing. You teach your children, they grow up. And my children don't drink. They grew up drinking sugar-free drinks. They don't drink things with full sugar. And they're teaching their children to do that as well. It just becomes habit. Okay, I think I'm nearly finished now. Quick quiz. Right, I want, just shout out the answers. So first lesson, if you have diabetes, I can never eat sweet treats again. True or false? What was that? Every now and again, have what you want so you don't feel deprived. Can I continue to eat my own cultural food? How? How can we do that? And how we prepare it. Okay, since I'm on medication, I can eat what I want. True or false? But you know how many people believe that? They go, oh, I'm okay now, I'm on tablets, so I can eat what I want. These are things that I've seen. And then once on medication, I never need to see my GP. True or false? Once a year. Go get that test, you paid your taxes. How long can pre-diabetes last? That's really good. And can it cause problems with my eyes and my feet? Because it affects your nerve, it affects everywhere that blood goes in your body. And what percentage of weight can be beneficial? What percentage of weight loss can be 10% of body weight? That's all. That's all you need to lose. You don't need to get skinny. I think that's it now. I think that's it. Last slide. Done. Thank you very much.
So much for this. This session was super amazing. And for me, attending this event has given me more idea on what diabetes is. I know for those of you who came much earlier, I said to me, diabetes was eating too much sugar. But now I have more understanding on what diabetes is. So even having to have my uncle who's got diabetes, so I have an idea on what he's going through, how he's feeling, what are the supports I can give to him. So I have a better understanding. Thank you so much for the speech. So right now, we're going to be doing a bit of entertainment. So I'll just like you to just shout out the answers if you know them. And if you want the mic, if you want us to use the mic, we could. So first, it's myth versus facts. So now, there's one thing people always say. A rabbit loves what? What does a rabbit loves eating? Someone would say carrots, right? But that's not true. Yes? I've raised the rabbits. They love watermelon. Yeah. So now you know that's a myth, but that's not a fact. So I've just given you an idea. So first, myth or fact. So you tell me if it's a myth or it's a fact. So you can feel when your blood sugar is high, or you don't always need to check it. Is it a myth or is it a fact? If you are bold to say, so if it's a fact, can we see your hands up? And if you are bold enough to say it's a myth, can we see your hands up? So I'll say the question again. You can feel when your body is high, so you don't always need to check it. Your blood sugar, rather. It's a myth. Are you sure? It's a fact. It's actually a fact. Just like the rabbit and the carrot. Okay, that's actually right. It's a myth. Thank you. So the next one, I'll just read it slowly. It says diabetes can cause serious damage to your eyes, kidney, heart, or even your nerves. Something without obvious symptoms. Is it myth or is it fact? Oh, that can be true. No? You sure? I know the reason why you have the answers because the nurse has spoken and the doctor has spoken. So you're bold enough to say it's a fact. Okay. You get it. So now the third one says, once diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, it's important to it's important. Sorry, I'll take that again. Once diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, it's important to reverse it or put it into remission. Is it myth or is it fact? So once diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, is it important for you to put it into remission or is it possible for it to be reversed? Is it a myth or is it a fact? It's a fact. But here it says it's a myth. So you see, I guess it this time. So I'll read the myths. It says with weight loss, healthy eating, exercise, many people can put type 2 diabetes into remission. So you see, I win. So again, I'll go to the next one. It says stress, poor sleep, and even long working hours can raise your risk of diabetes. Is it a myth or a fact? Fact, that's true. So instead of driving to work, why not try driving halfway, park it somewhere, and take long walks to the office? Try. Or maybe instead of going somewhere to have, just as the nurse said, just as she said, instead of taking so much alcohol, why not try drinking water? I know it's not easy, but it's something we need to swap. Thank you. So the next one, it says children and young people cannot develop type 2 diabetes. Myth or fact? Oh, no. So next one, it says eating too much sugar directly causes type 1 diabetes. Myth or fact? Yeah, nice. So the next one, it says some people have diabetes for years without knowing it because symptoms can be silent. Myth or fact? Fact, yes. So the next one, it says in Afro-Caribbean and the minority community, cultural foods and lifestyle patterns can increase diabetic risks if not balanced with healthy habits. Myth or a fact? It's a fact. Thank you so much. So you see, I got one of the questions anyway. So before we go on, I just want to ask, is there anyone here who would like to share a story, just like I shared my experience of having to live with my uncle who's diabetic? And he's not just diabetic, he's a lecturer too. So he has to stand on his feet for hours, not here in the UK, in Nigeria. And sometimes, so there was a time where we were called and he actually slumped while lecturing. And that was as a result of maybe his insulin was quite low and he fainted and everyone rushed out. But obviously, knowing back home from Nigeria where people go through things and don't share it. So after him slumping and falling down, everyone now knows he's got diabetes. So it's, first and foremost, it's something that, it's an experience where, just as doctor was saying, family can help. So we know what we eat in the house. Because of him, we don't have maybe eating pounded yam. We have different kind of food to help him. And it's more easier because when he sees you're eating what he's eating, he doesn't feel like he's left alone. So that's one thing. So if you're here and you would like to share an experience of maybe a family member, a friend that you know who's diabetic, and You just want to give us much light what you're doing that has helped them, and that could also help someone else to know exactly what they can do if they've got a family member who's got diabetes. So if you want to share, please, can I see your hand, please? Does anyone want to share? It's not time to press our phones. Okay, so I've been bold enough to share my experience. That's fine. Okay, so then we'll move on to the question and answer segment. So the doctor has spoken, and if you have questions that you wanted to ask why it was going on, as well as with the nurse, she wondered if you had questions from her slide, things that she said that you didn't understand, or maybe you wanted her to throw more light on the things that were said. If you have any question, this is the opportunity now. The floor is open. Does anyone have a question? Or if you don't want me to give you the mic and you want to write it on a sticky note, we have that option available. Does anyone want to have a question? Yes, please.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's an amazing event and very informative session. I know we think we know it all sometime, but we never know it, or we learn every day. And honestly, I'm just glad I was able to come, to this event today. So my question is to the doctor. I'm just wondering, the type 2 diabetes that is quite common now with children in the UK. Do you think it's kind of like the food we eat here? Because growing up in Nigeria, we never used to hear about diabetes in children. Honestly, I never heard of it. It's when I came to the UK that, my first experience was with a family friend that had a child that was diagnosed. I'm like, really? Diabetes is in a 9-10-year-old child? So do you think it's like the food we're exposed to here, the fast food that's readily available? Because of Africa, you don't get to eat fast food every day. You don't eat sweets the way children consume sweets and everything here. So I'm just curious about, children and childhood diabetes. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, that is the reason. A lot of, we're eating a lot of processed foods more often these days. It's unfortunate, but we're eating quite a lot of junk and processed food. Back home, you got to eat proper food, but we actually looked down on the proper food and we wanted the processed food because we thought that was what was more healthy. But here, it's actually people with low income that actually eat junk and like sugar and all of that, and those are the people that tend to develop diabetes, especially as children. It's because of that, poor eating wrong junk and excess sugary food. That is the main reason, basically. And we can always avoid that. It is healthier and it's more tush to eat proper meals, fruits and healthy vegetables. Yeah.
Can I just say as well, can I ask you something? So how is your lifestyle different when you're at home? Did people travel around in buses, in cars as much as they do here? Or did they just walk where they needed to go?
Does anyone else have a question? And one more thing I would like to add, I would just say eating fast food, McDonald's, Burger King, and the rest, I just think it's discipline for the child. So if you think the 2 hours or the 1 hour's time you take to make a proper meal, and you think it's faster to give them a Burger King, so if you think of the effect it will have than making a nice plate of jollof rice, fried rice with all the greens in it, I think it's much better. So does anyone have a question? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to thank the nurse for all the explanation. Thank you for making me comfortable a bit. At least I know what I cannot do and what I can do. And the doctor also, thank you for taking us back. The trip you took back home was very helpful. However, mine is not really a question. It's an expression of a frustration. My frustration lies in, I'm here today in UK after all the struggles that I passed through. Like the doctor rightly said, he said when we're back home, getting those junk food for us was like the real thing. So the meal that our mom and had to prepare for us at home, we saw it as what we call the bako food. So my frustration is, I remember at that time when we really had to eat that type of food. I always aim to have one day being able to afford ice cream, afford go to a Kenwan Road and get some of those burgers, which I never did. Nobody ever did that for me. But today, I'm able to afford this. And now the doctor is here and the nurse is here. What? What a frustration. What are you talking about? I can afford it now. Now you're telling me not to have it? Who does that? It's very frustrating. Do you know that? This is the issue. So sometimes, like you said, like the nurse said, you say your brother or your husband, when you went to his locker, when he passed, sorry about that, you saw that he had some sweet in his locker just because we wouldn't let him be himself. So in his locker, he tried to be himself, not knowing that being himself was taking himself down. So what are we here for today? We are here today to let people know that we can beat all these diseases. Being a black man, when I say black man, women are involved anyway, it doesn't mean we cannot enjoy ourselves without eating those things that we so crave for. There are ways we can still eat and we'll get the enjoyment we need from this meal without having to do those things that kills the black man. Somebody asked a question just now. Say, back home, our dad and mom, they didn't really talk about diabetes. Do you know the type of exercise my mom did? Can you explain the exercise my mom did? If my mom had to walk 5 miles to go to the farm, walk in the farm, really cutting grasses, packing and planting, when she finished, she has to uproot cassava, put it on her head, walk another 5 miles home, grind that, fry gari, go to the stream and fetch some water. There is no exercise more than that. So if you're telling me that my mom lived 100 plus, and you are telling me that we have technology and everything, you want to discard that? My mom did exercise that you didn't see. Yeah. Today, what do? Right, no exercise. When I first started walking somewhere, you told me to tell a story, so I'm telling you a story now.
Go on.
I started walking somewhere before I got my first salary, so I was parking under the bridge so I can walk. The moment I got my first salary, I smiled. I walked to the receptionist. Please, all these people parking here, how did they do that? So he told me, just pay 45. I paid. So now I park. When I'm upstairs, I can see my car. What have I just done? I have eventually cut off all the exercise that I can do unknowingly. Please, everyone here, try to involve exercise in whatever you do. It helps. Thank you very much. But I'm not very happy that the doctor told me I cannot eat those sweet things. It's frustrating. But if you want to stay alive, stay away. Stay away. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for that. So right now, before we go further, do we have any other person who has a question? Okay.
Sorry, I just want a bit of clarity to some of these comments so we don't live here with a guilty conscience. I grew up in an environment where we believe a day without pounded yam is a wasted day. Or swallow, somebody says. Praise. Or Gary. I want to ask the doctors or the medical people in the house, what is the problem with pounded yam? Is it the processed one we buy in the shop or the real yam that they pan for us that we eat that is the problem? What is actually the problem? Or is it a question of quantity? Or is it the fact that we eat these days and we just sit down in one place? In my local sense, I would think that the pounded yam we buy in the shop is not pounded yam. That is one truth that we need to tell ourselves. It's a process, whatever it is. I eat real pounded yam and I can tell the difference. Your body will tell you. But what are you guys actually preaching when you say reduce the quantity? I don't know if the medical people want to respond. I want to live here with a clean conscience. I don't want to feel bad or guilty to myself.
Yeah. I think, like I said when I was giving my talk, I said pounded yam is my main my main meal. I think, like you said, three things you mentioned. The processed pounded yam, it substitutes, but it's not as good as the proper one. But I don't think it's something that you shouldn't eat. I think some of the good ones, even though they are processed, they are quite close to like your normal pounded yam. So I think it's not something to be avoided. Secondly, you mentioned the portions. I think that's where the main thing is, the portions. And then having smaller sized portions as much as possible. And then, your day, like I said, during the course of the day, it's not necessarily the meals that are the problem, it's what you have in between. So when your meals, you portion them, you eat good portions, not massive amounts of pounded yam, just a reasonable portion, But what you eat in between is what counts. Like all those, you stop there, you buy biscuits, you make indomie in between. Those extra meals are actually what, causes problems. And then you said also, eating that and then having a sedentary lifestyle, as much as possible, exercising, you can't beat that. Yeah. It's not pounded yam.
Thank you very much. Was your question answered? No. It was. I think for me, after
Uncle Joe, how are you, sir? The paradigm issue. The fact is, it's not the paradigm that is issued. Like the doctor said, the real issue is that you eat the paradigm now and you don't do anything with it. Back home that time, when we eat pounded yam, somebody that eat pounded yam, like my father, when he finished eating the pounded yam, what is he going to do? With his cutlass, he start walking. When he start cutting grass from here, in another, maybe 100 yards, he comes back, another pounded yam. He goes again. Easy. Okay. But today, if me and you, we know now, if we hammer, we not they do anything now. You know where those things they go do? Know what they do? Sorry. For those of us that don't pidgin English, I'm sorry. You know what they do? When you eat that pounded yam, it's carbohydrate. That carbohydrate comes to form what we call cholesterol, all of them. They enter something like your blood vein, like pipe wey dey inside your body where they carry blood. What do you go do? They go begin block them. They go arrange the oil. They go arrange, cover them. So when the blood wey dey for your blood vein not fit move past again, it affects your heart. Because your heart now go come use power. Now you go continue to push to get blood to your legs. When this happens, your body is doing extra work. When all these things begin to happen, it's not really the pounded yam now. It is all the things will come out for inside the pounded yam. So, what we come to talk for here be say, oh, you want the verse? No. What we read a talk here be say, now that I am not using those calories that I'm eating every day to do physical work. Because most of us now don't do physical work. I see you now, the work where they do now. He put this thing for ear. He did talk. Now be in job. This man when they hear. You just put one thing for ear. He doesn't need to go to the office. Working from home. Me, I still manage to drive to my work and climb upstairs. He doesn't. Working from home, that's what he does. So what are we saying? Those swallow that you eat, if you don't spend them, you don't use them, they stay in your body. And when they stay in your body, they are blocking those vital organs in your body. And when they are blocking them, they are making your body to do extra work. When your body is doing extra work, they are stressed. And when you are stressed is the underlying factor to all illnesses. Just name the illness. I'll tell you how stress they contribute to them. So, bros, now what we do Europe, when we don't make them, if we want eat padarian, small one, and not be every day. And the soup where we take the eat them, if now bolo, make we reduce the red oil where we they put. Is that not what we are saying? Yeah. The red oil. Do you know, Ogbolo, you can only make it with a little oil. Just to add the flavor. Not making the Ogbolo with the oil flowing is not necessary. What we need the oil for is just the flavor. I know we cannot do without the oil. So just add a little bit of it to add the flavor, and you still get that taste, and you eat a bit of padarian because I can't survive without swallow myself. But now we are beginning to be expert in the swallow. My brother there, he knows how to swallow now. The one that side, he used to swallow a lot, but he still swallow a lot, but he now knows how to do it better, so that we still have him around all the time. Bros, you know what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a very good explanation. So if you have more questions, you can put them down. You can put them on, maybe if you need a paper, sticky notes, just write them down. Then we can give it to, or you can meet the doctor and the nurse personally and ask your question because of time. So right now, I would like to invite Mary to just give a talk, her personal experience on gestational diabetes. So she's going to be sharing with us. Like I said before, when you hear someone's experience, you know how to deal with it much better. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not a nurse or a doctor. In fact, I hate science. But I've been through gestational diabetes with my second child. And it happened because my nurse, or is that what you call them? People in charge of when you're pregnant. Before you get to do birthing suite. Like where you have to go for your checks every 20 weeks or 15 weeks or something like that. So they said because I'm from African background, I missed a particular check. So they didn't invite me for it. So by the time I did the 20 weeks check, I missed it. So by the time they checked me, they then said I had gestational diabetes already because I missed the 20 weeks. So they could have spotted it before 20 weeks. So I had it, and because of that, a lot of things had to change. My diet had to change. I was given the sugar test, blood test that I have to do every single morning, afternoon, and night. I had to reduce my starchy food, no sugary drinks. So what I was drinking was squash with more water. So that gives a bit of sweetness, but not as much as, level that they didn't need me to be on. And they also said my daughter, while she was in me, was quite big as well. So I really needed to watch what I was eating, exercise. So when I was pregnant and I was exercising as well, even heavily pregnant, I used to stay on Hyde Road. Then I would walk to the big Tesco. Naturally, I like walking. That's my own exercise. So I'll walk there, but sometimes there's no energy to walk back. I just carry Uber and go back home. So these are the things that I changed when I knew that I had gestational diabetes. And my family supported me by also not having Coke at home, Fanta. They were with me with a squash drink, water in the house, and we're walking together. So that kind of gave me a boost. Like, it's not just me doing this thing, we're all in it together. At the end of the day, he impregnated me, so he had to be on point with it. So, so we did all that. And then when I gave birth, it was gone. So it was gone. My daughter did not have it, because I'm sure if she had it, they would have done it before we left the hospital anyway and cautioned us that this is what it is. But she didn't have it. I don't have it. We don't have the history in my family. But lifestyle is key. Lifestyle is key. And something that June mentioned that I want to reiterate is, we worked with some NHS staff one time in terms of health and lifestyle prescribers and things like that. And what a lot of African people said to them, why they don't go to GPs and doctor, was, what you don't know will not kill you. However, we have to tell them that what you don't know will eventually kill you. Yes, they have that fear of, now if I know I have cancer, now the fear will really, really get to me. Or if I know I have diabetes, how I would think will be different. But we have to switch that mindset. Once you know early, you can start working on it, put some things in place. Like, June said, she had an auntie that was more than 100, right? She lived over 100. Yeah, you got over 100, and she was diabetic, and she was fine. So it's not about knowing, it's about what you do with the knowledge of what's going on in your body. So that's just my own experience with gestational diabetes. And yeah, I'm not diabetes, but yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing with us. Thank you very much, Mary, for sharing with us and just giving us an insight on what it is. So I don't know if you just look on your table. I don't know if you can see this leaflet on your table. How many of us can see this leaflet on our table? Okay, so there's a QR code there, just at the very bottom. So please, if you can scan it so that you can follow and just go on to join the community, because there are other people there who need much insight, maybe that couldn't come for the event, but they need to know exactly what help is involved. So if you can join the community as well. So it's just a quick one. If you just scan the barcode, the QR code that's just there, just scan it and join the community. Thank you so much. So a quick reflection. It's not for you to answer, it's just something for you to just think about. Take a moment, pause, and reflect on today's event. That's today's experience. What has he taught you? What are the new things you've learned? What are the information you've accessed today that will help you? Not even if you're not the one who's got diabetes, but maybe you have a friend or you know someone that knows someone that's got diabetes. So what are the things you know now that will help you to support them much more? Just having to attend this event. So what have you learned? What has inspired you the most? Then how can you contribute to create a world where life beyond diabetes is possible for all? So it's one thing to know. So as Martin Luther King would say, you don't have to see the whole suitcase, just take the first step. So the thing is, you don't have to know exactly what's diabetes, but knowing it will help you to have an information, give you informed decision. Just as Mary said, she said, people always say what you don't know cannot hurt you, but that's a lie. What you don't know can hurt you. So it's one thing for you to do. So at this time, so before I invite the host to the founder to give us her closing remark, we have FA who would like to share his experience on how maybe the journey or maybe someone he's known who's got diabetes. So please, can you please pass the mic? Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Well, I'm not going to say much this evening because I guess we had well-qualified persons who's talked about what diabetes is all about. But I only just say I got diagnosed in 2020. Yeah. And I'll dwell more on life beyond diabetes. Because once, before now, we think when you've got diabetes, it's like a death sentence. But I want to reassure everyone that is not the case. As long as you manage it properly, there, and there are lots of help out there, work-wise, there is this Equality Act, which makes it mandatory for employers to risk assess you while you're at work. So it's their duty to make proper provision to support you while at work. And knowing that would help you a great deal, because one of the things is with diabetes, it varies from individuals. Some people have their ups and downs. It varies the way it is. So it's their duty to understand what are your lows and how can be managed. So I will just say we should try as much as possible to tell our employers, our family, our friends, and everyone around us, because it helps when they know. That's the only way they could help. Prior to now, I know some persons try to keep it under wraps. They just feel, telling people will make them look at me differently. No, the more they know, the better they could support you and assist you in managing it. So I would say here really is having it is not a death sentence. It's something you could work with. My mom had it while she was pregnant with me. And when I was growing up, it became an issue because it put me off drinking tea. Because when I was growing up, she would tell you, no, you shouldn't drink tea. You should put saccharin in your tea and all that. So naturally, I got put off. But you see, it had its own bad side. The bad side was when no one is watching, I'll go take so much sugar, so much Bonvita, and things like that. So these are some of the things that, like the lady was saying earlier on, the myths. They'll just tell you, because you have this will happen and things like that. I always want people to understand that knowing, you should know what it is and know how your body responds to spikes, what you are eating, how you could manage it and all that. And again, there are lots of help out there. Like I said, living beyond diabetes, you need the support mechanism. You need to talk to your employers. You need to talk to your friends, your colleagues, or whatever you do, for any assistance you will need to keep you on top of it. Thank you very much.
That's my uncle right there. The whole reason for the event. Anyway, I'd like to say we wouldn't have had an event if we didn't have people who showed up for us. So I'd say thank you so much for spending the day with us, the time with us. And I hope we all learned something. I've been getting feedback, honestly, and I want to believe that the feedback is the same for everybody. Like I said at the beginning, we wouldn't be here without each and every one of us. So I'm going to save us the time to start mentioning names. I'm just going to say thank you to our sponsors, BHA, CAN, Cancer Care, Peaches Fruit Drinks. It's they knew I was a novice. They knew it was the first one, and they were very patient. I save us all the details. Thank you to my mentors, to my Bloom women, female Bloom. There we are. This dream had been there for years, but it got bettered as the female Bloom event. So I'd say thank you. Thank you. Well, this is me. It's an event that is going to happen quarterly. So we would communicate the next date to us. And obviously, we're going to have different themes. This particular one was just creating awareness that this needs to be done. And we can see the feedback that it really needs to be done. The next one will be around lifestyle. So I've got all the themes down, and I will communicate it to the team. Like I said, it's a movement. I can't do this alone. So please, please, and please, join the movement. Join us. It's going to be worth it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Enjoy your evening. To the man that makes me go out and looks after the children while I'm out and about chasing my dreams. Thank you. Thank you, babe. Thank you. And to God Almighty, thank you. Thank you. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So don't forget, just as Chia said, please, there's a leaflet on your table. Scan the barcode so that you can join the WhatsApp community, so that you can know when the next event is happening. And you can invite other people you know to join as well. Thank you so much for attending this amazing event. And I remain your humble host, UJ. Thank you so much. See you all more.